Hey everybody, the time has come for me to brighten up your winter with a preview of some of our favorite annual flowers that we're bringing to Netta's this spring. Now, a lot of these varieties are new to market, so this is the first year that they'll be available to the public, and many other ones have only been around for 1 or 2 years. So you're going to see some rather unusual plants, or at least some that I think you've never seen before, and we're really excited to have them on board. I'll start with the Angelonia. So the first one I'm going to tell you about is the Angeldance Bicolor Violet. Now this plant is incredible. Every time I saw it in one of the trial gardens, it stood out because it looks more like a flowering shrub rather than just some kind of annual plant. It gets covered with beautiful flowers and it has this nice tidy mounded habit that absolutely looks gorgeous. I think it's one that's going to look good in containers. You can put it in the ground as well. Looks really, really good. Also in Angelonia, we're bringing on the Archangel Cherry Red. Now this one is one of the brightest, most saturated Angelonia we've ever seen. We trialed it in one of our combinations last year and the color was absolutely so vibrant we couldn't resist bringing it on board for this year. Now some of you might not be as familiar with Angelonia. It is more of a warm weather plant, so it really starts putting on its growth when the days start getting warmer, and then it's kind of a real showstopper. It's also very deer resistant, so we've never had problems with that. So a nice one to consider if you need something that's going to keep the deer away and also look great in the heat, because that's where it really thrives. Next up is Foxtail Fern. The color and habit on this one is absolutely beautiful. We haven't carried it before, so I'm not sure exactly when in the season it hits its stride, but it was absolutely beautiful in all of the Michigan trial gardens, so it does do well in our area, and you could bring it in as a houseplant. Now I'm going to highlight some of the new begonias. Proven Winners has unveiled the Double Delight Begonia. This one has lightly fragrant flowers with big double blooms. So it's going to look great in containers and baskets because it naturally spills over the sides of your containers. We've also got 2 begonias that are better known for their leaves than they are their flowers. The first one is the Gryphon, and this one has been around for a while, but after seeing it in the trial gardens, I felt like we were really missing out by not carrying it. Now, Gryphon is all about big foliage that gives a full-on tropical vibe. You don't want it in full sun. In fact, it does fine in full shade, and I noticed that the pattern on the leaves was a little bit more pronounced when it was placed in a little bit less light. In more sun, the pattern kind of went away. So something to consider. The other big begonia is the Citizen Cane. This one gets huge, like 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. It does have some nice flowers, but it's definitely more about the leaves and its growth and its size on that one. But when it comes to flowers, we're most excited about the Nonstop Fire. This one drips with gargantuan blooms, and they're kind of a bicolor orange and gold, probably one of the most attention-grabbing begonias out there. And if you want intensely colored blooms, also look at the Portofino series. These will be similar in size to the Nonstops and Selenias, but they grow a little bit differently. And the reason why we brought these on is because I asked our grower, hey, what would you say are the easiest begonias with lots of flowers that you can grow? And immediately they pointed to these. There's a newer variety and it just has nonstop blooms and it tends to just behave. It does exactly what it's supposed to do with very little care. Another one with incredible flower power is the Vermillion Red. It has double blooms, look a lot like roses or maybe a ranunculus. This one gets pretty big, and every time I saw this plant in the summer, it was awash with these intensely colored flowers. Absolutely one that stood out from a distance, and like I said, big, giant double flowers. This is also the year of the white wax begonia. Now both Dragonwing and Surefire have introduced their white flowering varieties this year. Now we've carried the red and the pink versions of these for several years and they're about as close to a bulletproof plant as you can get. They take full sun, full shade, they can get nice and big and lush, they can handle drought, they're just really, really easy. And the only thing you have to really watch out for is that if you're moving them from say a shady spot like one of our greenhouses that might be shaded into a really sunny spot, you're going to have to transition them out because they will get a little bit of sunlight shock. But if once they're out in the sun for a while, they adjust and they do really great. You can move them from a full sun area to a shady area and you won't see any of that shock. But absolutely easy plants, but the white, unbelievable. But I do want to point out that the flowers on the white dragonwing do have a slight pink halo inside. And I don't see that in a lot of the photos that are out there online. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Meanwhile, the Surefire white, that one has a true white flower and it contrasts beautifully with its beautiful green glossy leaves. We're bringing on a new Caladium this year. It is the Heart to Heart, Heart and Soul Caladium. We just love the speckled pattern on this one. Now, caladiums are a little bit harder to grow on our end, but last year they looked so fantastic. We had switched over to the Proven Winners Heart to Heart series, and they were so gorgeous. They did well all season, right up until cold, and they're not supposed to do well once it gets, say, below 50 at night, but ours did really well right up until, we freeze. So they really held up really well later into the season, which we weren't expecting. These can also be brought in as houseplants. Big thing you want to remember is don't use any like manure-based fertilizers on that, like Milorganite or any kind of dairy compost or something like that. That's not going to do them any favors. They're going to kind of get a little fussy if you do that. We're adding 3 colors of Canna this year. We went with the Cannova series. These are giant showstoppers in the landscape, or they're a true thriller in containers. We're getting these in as plugs, so we're not sure how long it'll take for them to get up to size, but we're going to keep them in our warmest greenhouse with the other tropicals like the caladiums, and hopefully they'll be nice and big by the 1st of May or soon after, so they'll be ready for you to take home and really show off in the yard. We're also trying an ornamental pepper. This one's called the Numex. There is so much color on these peppers. They can actually be showier than most flowers. So it's just got that different texture, really unique color. And I will note these are not eating peppers, they are ornamental. Now, also want to talk about Celosia. Now, normally we would carry 3 colors of Celosia, but this year we narrowed it down to 1, and that is the Kelos Lunar Magenta. We chose that because basically every year it's that magenta that sells out, and the other colors are a little bit slower movers. And what surprises us is that we made that decision before Pantone chose their color of the year, which is Viva Magenta. And this lines right up with that. This year also, instead of the flame type of Celosia, this is more of that kind of wavy one that looks a little bit like brains. Kids always like looking at that one because we always call it the brain plant. We have some new additions to the Calibrachoa lineup. The Aloha Kona Pineapple. This one has such a unique color, has that golden yellow with an orange throat, which is really quite unique and quite bold in the garden. The 2 colors look really great together, and it also means that with that little bit of veining inside, it picks up the colors around it, so you can mix it with a lot of different colors and it'll really stand out and will work well with a lot of different colors. The flowers on this one are big, they cover the entire plant, and the vigor is going to be similar to like the Cabaret series that we carry. So nice size plant, and it's going to play nice with all your other plants as well. The Cha-Cha series has introduced a bunch of new colors, and I dare say the fuchsia is the most intense hot pink out there. Absolutely stunning. I think you're going to love it. The yellow also looks great, and that red kiss with the dark throat really has a beautiful look to it. The Cha-Chas tend to be a little bit bigger, and they maintain a little bit more of a mounding and trailing habit, so they tend to be a tidier plant than some of the more kind of trailing ones that we carry. So something to keep in mind. You're going to notice that we have made room for a lot of new bicolors and some of the unusual patterns in a lot of our plants, including the Calibrachoas, and that's going to give you a lot of new things to get creative with. And 2 of them that I'm really excited about. One of those is the Dracula Calibrachoa. The center is so dark, it's almost black. Meanwhile, when you look at the illusion, look at how many colors make up the eye of that plant. It's amazing how much color is in just that little range that's in there. It's really great. Both of these plants get at least to the size of the Cabarets, so you get those unique flowers without having to sacrifice any of the vigor. This is a good time for me to mention that Calibrachoas do tend to do better in containers rather than in the ground. They are sensitive to pH, so your soil in your yard might have a pH that they don't like, so they might not do as well. So remember, Calibrachoas do better in pots and hanging baskets in that type of situation. There are 2 new additions to the Superbells lineup that I want to tell you about. One of them is the Tropical Sunrise. This one isn't new, but we haven't carried it alone as a solo plant. We had it in a combo last year, and I have to say the flower was absolutely incredible. It was covered in blooms, stayed in bloom all season, very easy maintenance as long as we kept giving it its water, its fertilizer. It was just a no-nonsense plant. The reason we hadn't carried it before is because that pink and yellow color pattern on the blossom, we were worried that it was going to be a risky plant, going to be hard to match. Absolutely wrong on that. It was exactly the opposite. You can plant it with pink or yellow or peach, even dark orange, red. It looks great with blues and purples. It was one of those plants that just can kind of go with anything, and we did not expect that at all. One of the most unusual Calibrachoas that we're carrying is the Superbells Prism Pink Lemonade. This one opens lemon yellow and then transitions to pink. And the good news is that both colors are absolutely beautiful. And that's why we went for this one, because there are other color shifting Calibrachoas out there, but a lot of times one of the colors maybe isn't as strong or isn't quite as nice. So this one though looks great, and you kind of get that 2-tone across the plant, which is really unusual. It has a great texture to the garden, and it has been winning awards award after award after award. It definitely was one of the favorites at all the trial gardens that it's been in. So very unusual super bells to keep an eye out for. Now last year, any Coleus that we had with pink in it sold out immediately. So this year, rather than just getting a whole bunch more of the ones that sold fast last year, we thought we'd add more Coleus with pink in them so you'd get a little bit more variety and give you a look at some of the different types that are out there. So you're going to find that there are some really high contrast, really bright Coleus in the mix. First one I'll tell you about is in the Main Street series. It's Ruby Road, and the color on this one is so intense. And just like all the other Main Street Coleus, it can take full sun, full shade, and they get really, really large. It's a very vigorous plant and grows really very easily. We've also got Main Street Ashbury Road. This one has this beautiful lime and pink, but really it's all about the texture on this one. The leaves are shorter and rounder. They have a completely different look from a lot of the other Coleus, but in the trial gardens, this was one that, you know, when it was lined up with the other Coleus, you just were drawn to that one because it was so different than the others and still has that nice big vigor as well, which is nice. We're also trying some of the Under the Sea series. Now these have been around for a little while, but they haven't been really easily available. These are more of a medium-sized Coleus with vibrant color and texture. These are going to look their best in part shade to part sun, but they can handle full suns. But just take a look at the different colors available from that Under the Sea series. Color Blaze is also introducing Watermelon Mini Me. Now it is a slightly more compact variety from the other Color Blaze series, but it has this beautiful mounded habit. It was such a consistent plant. Everywhere I saw it, it was growing, and it looked almost exactly like the photograph on the Proven Winners website. So very, very beautiful plant. The color on this one is fantastic. It has those pinks and corals and peaches, as well as those great green tones in it. So it's an absolute eye catcher. The other big change to our Coleus lineup is the addition of the trailing Burgundy Wedding Train, which can take sun or shade. This one is very vigorous. In fact, it gets more than double the size of the Falls series, which is the one that we've been carrying. The good news is that it also responds fine to trimming, so if you do need to tame it, you can bring it in. We're still going to carry the Great Falls Yosemite as our light leaf trailing Coleus, but if you need something that's going to match the vigor of the Burgundy Wedding Train, you could try the variegated Plectranthus. I think it's also called a Swedish ivy. It has a really strong trailing habit. It can take part shade to full sun, plus it has fragrant leaves, so that deters both deer and mosquitoes. We're also excited about the Petra Croton. You might recognize this more as a houseplant, but it does very well in outdoor containers, and it has such stunning color. If you look at the oranges and the greens on there, beautiful range on it, and it is a very easy plant to grow. Best of all, if you bring the plant indoors before the temperature drops, you can keep it as a houseplant. There's also a new white Kufia called Sugar Bells. It gets covered with white trumpet-like flowers. The hummingbirds go crazy for this one. Now, Sugar Bells doesn't get quite as big as the other Kufia that we carry, but it has a nice, dense, mounded habit. Look great in all the trial gardens. Pretty easy one to grow as well. Can handle a little bit of drought. And like I said, hummingbirds nonstop going to that one. That's the first plant they usually go to. For dahlias, we're adding the Grand Prismatic to the Extra Extra Large series. I fell in love with the flower on this one. They are big and abundant and beautiful. Meanwhile, the Venti Mango and the Venti Purple, they bring us two new color additions to our dahlia lineup. These are also nice large plants, good strong stems, beautiful flowers on them. And then to change things up, we've got the Star Sister Red and White, which has an intricate bicolor bloom that is completely different from any of our other dahlias. We'll be bringing on several new geraniums, but the one I'm most excited about is the Caldera Lavender Glow. Everywhere I saw this plant, it stopped me in my tracks. The flower is a bit more of a single and maybe more open compared to our other geraniums, kind of like more like some of the ivy geraniums, but it makes up for it with the number of blooms, and it creates a complete dome over the entire plant. The way it has several shades of the color on it really makes it look like it's glowing and kind of almost, it has movement just because of that unique kind of color structure on it. We're also going to carry the Caldera Red. Saw it in some municipal pots. It looked absolutely stunning, so thought that would be a good addition. And if you're looking for some orange geraniums, I have two that I'll recommend. One is the Caliente Orange. The flower is similar to the Calderas. This one they actually list as self-cleaning, so I'm very curious to see exactly what that means. If you've had geraniums in the past, you know that they usually benefit from breaking those flowers off. This one, they say that it's self-cleaning, so worth a try. We're going to report back on exactly what that means. The other beautiful orange flower geranium is the Brocade Fire Night. This one has a glowing orange flower, and then the leaves are kind of a froggy green with a bronze center. So the leaves stand out as well. So you have beautiful flower, great foliage on this one. We're also trying 2 new scented geraniums. So we have the Angel's Perfume and Citrus. Now both of these have smaller flowers. However, they are popular because their fragrance deters mosquitoes, and especially if you kind of rub the leaves, you'll get the fragrance, and it does kind of turn the mosquitoes away. We're also bringing in the Splash Select Hypoestes. There's 3 colors. These are often called polka dot plants for obvious reasons. This one doesn't flower, but the color on the leaves makes it perfect for both indoors and outdoors. This one cannot handle full sun, so do keep that in mind when you're choosing a spot. We've got a couple new colors of impatiens, but the one everyone is talking about is Peach Candy. It's from the Sun Patience Vigorous family, so it does get quite large, and that stripe down the middle of the petal is just a standout. It looked great in all the trial gardens, and it is the one that everyone is talking about. We've also added the Electric Orange and Rose Glow. These two had some of the most saturated colors I had ever seen, so absolutely great additions. We did make a little bit of a shakeup in our ornamental grasses. We're adding one called Baby Moses. This one compares to the baby tut grass. It's more compact and grows into kind of a nice filler. Other plants can grow through it, so it's an interesting one. Also does well in the ground, so you can plant it in planters or in the landscape. And we're substituting the King Tut, which is one of the largest of the papyrus grasses, and we're switching over to the Crown of Pharaoh, so that should be a pretty similar plant. And the reason for this change is because we can order those in smaller quantities, and that gives us room to add one that I'm really interested in, the Queen Tut grass. This one is a beauty. Its form stays tight and tidy, but it still allows other plants to grow through it. Looks great on its own, but it can add really great structure to mixed containers as well. It's just one of those that in the trial gardens at Proven Winners, I was so impressed with it. I saw it in several other locations as well, and everywhere it went, it just did a great job. Everyone said it was low maintenance as well, so we're excited about that. All of those papyrus grasses, whether it's the Baby Moses, right on through to the Queen Tut, those do tend to like a good amount of water, so make sure that if you're putting them in a container, you're giving them plenty of water so you can kind of maximize that. We're also trying the Blue Arrows Junctus and 2 colors of pampas grass, as well as a dark leaf millet called Purple Baron. Those aren't necessarily new ones, but we are going to make sure and carry those this year for you. Now in Ipomia or Ipomia, or for the rest of us, sweet potato vine, there's a real standout in the upside black coffee and key lime. These twins are very vigorous and they trail as you'd expect from a sweet potato vine, but they also climb. These look so good in so many of the pots and baskets that I saw this summer. I really fell in love with it. I had seen it also in the ground and in lower situations where it kind of crawled across the ground. Looked really, really, really nice. But if you need something more compact, do try one of the other varieties that we carry. Now for Lantana, last year we switched over to the Bandolero series. We were so glad we did. Lots of flowers on those. Good vigor. They trailed over the pots better than the previous variety that we had. But this year we are making some changes over to kind of the next one over, which is the Bandolista. This one's brand new this year, and it really is made for hanging baskets and containers. It kind of trails really nicely, and the flower performance on this one is incredible. Everywhere I went, this one was the most flowering lantana that I could see anywhere. So just a really nice addition. We're also adding the Bandolero lychee or lychee. Is it lychee fruit? I can't remember. Anyway, beautiful pink color on this one. Performs even better than the cherry red variety that we had last year. So we're going with this one. It really is a standout. Last year we added the Hot Plus Lobelia. This year they're bringing in the Electric Purple. It looks great, and that series was by far the best performing lobelia in the heat of summer that I've ever seen, and the flowers on these get really big and really, really beautiful. And it looked great everywhere I saw it. When it comes to osteospermums, we've got a few new members of the Zion family. These are the slightly taller osteos that have great color. Pink Sun is their new color. We're also bringing in Denim and Morning Sun. We wanted to round out the whole series and really bring as many great colors as possible. And to do that, we're also extending into more of the pinks and reds by going with 3 colors from the Gelato series. So peach, raspberry, and cranberry. They're just really unusual colors, so we're excited to add those in. We just want to take advantage of a wider spectrum of color. We're also adding the pink Margarita Plus. That one has nice large flowers on it. We're going to try out the blue passion flower. This one grows in warmer climates as a perennial vine, but some of our customers have encouraged us to try it because they've had great success with it. So we thought, let's give it a try. Look at the unusual flower. Really kind of a unique look to it. So that's going to be one we're going to be keeping an eye on. In the petunias, we've added a lot of unique colors and bicolors. The one I'm most excited about is the Blanket Silver Surprise. This one displays multiple colors on one plant. So white, silver, lavender, purple, pink, all in one beautiful mound that gets tons and tons and tons of blooms. It actually is shocking how many flowers on there. But what's even more fascinating is that the colors can express themselves differently on each flower. So it could be a solid, it could be half and half, it could be striped, just really unusual flowering on that one. So that one's just a really unique gem when it comes to the petunias. Haven't seen one like that before. My other favorite is called Hippie Chick. This is a purple and white petunia with one of the nicest silhouettes that's emphasized by that really nice rim on it. This is another one that was just covered in blooms, did really well. It's going to look great in baskets and containers, but I did see it growing in the landscape, look great there too. So really versatile plant, and that gets a nice size. We've added the Burgundy Star to our Easy Wave lineup. That one got my attention around Rochester, Minnesota. It has this large carpet of flowers and just does really well. And it just was something a little different. I don't think this is a new color, but it's new for us. And I was really excited to have that one in the mix. We're adding the Flower Shower Mayan Sunset. Stunning color on this, so much intensity, and I love how it's a bicolor. This one, large flowers, large plant, looks great. Probably one of the most vibrant out there, unless you're comparing it to the Funhouse Potpourri, which has an extreme contrast between its yellow and its pink. Absolutely the most vibrant yellow and the vibrant pink you can get in the petunia family, so really nice. There's also the Funhouse Peach Melba. That one isn't quite as bold, but it's just a really nice color combination to add to our mix. And where Peach Melba has more of an orangey pink color, the Cascadia's Autumn Mystery has a similar color scheme with more of a purple cast. This one has blooms that kind of change. They start out more yellow with a warm purple center, and they fade to a cream with a richer purple color center. So very unusual, but a nice soothing color combination. Also in the Cascadia series, we have two other fantastic pinks. There's Fantasy Hot Pink and Fuchsia. The color on these are so intense. They're really incredible plants, and they get a nice size. They're known for their trailing, so they're really good in baskets and containers. The other pinks to watch are the Capella Pink Lace. That one has incredible veining on it. And anytime you have veining like that, it makes it easier to mix the plant with other flowers. So it picks up kind of the colors around it a little bit better. There's also Orchid Star and Flower Shower Patrick Star. Orchid Star has a more delicate look. It looks as if the colors were painted with watercolors. Meanwhile, Patrick Star goes full on bold with it. So really good color on that one. We're also expanding our Super Cal Premium Petcoa universe. These are the Petunia Calibrachoa hybrids that have done so well for us. The colors on these are extremely rich, and they're especially weather durable. They can handle cooler temperatures both in the spring and the fall. They can handle any amount of rain. I think the colors are a little bit more velvety than you see on a lot of other petunias. I think that's because the flowers themselves are actually a little bit more thick and durable, so they just hold that color really well. And if you like dark colors, don't miss the Capella Mulberry, the Black Magic, the Sanguna Merlot, and the Surfinia Heavenly Cabaret. All three are the best of the dark colors. That Sanguna Merlot caught us by surprise last year because it was in one of our combo baskets, and we just knew it was a red we had to carry. In the annual salvias, don't miss the Sally Fun Blue Lagoon. This is very similar to the Cathedral series. However, the flowers on this one look a little larger, and they kind of remind me of like grape hyacinth blooms. They're just really big clusters of flowers on there. And then in Thunbergia, also known as Black-Eyed Susan Vine, we are adding Coconut Appeal. This adds a new color to the Proven Winners lineup, and the vigor on this one matches the lemon, tangerine, and orange appeal. So where other Thunbergia, the fancy colors sometimes are a little bit less vigorous, this one has that vigor and that flower coverage that we love. Another exciting addition is the new Pistachio Tradescantia, also known as Wandering Jew. It grows just like the traditional purple variety, but with a stunning white and green color. Now I will warn you, if you put it in full sun, the leaves will get a little brown, but otherwise super easy to grow and really pretty versatile. Fills pots really nicely. I was very impressed with this one. Now for Terrenia, this is a plant that a lot of people don't know anything about, but it ticks a lot of boxes for shade plants. So it gets beautiful blooms, has more of a trailing habit, especially the 3 new varieties that we're bringing on. They're the more vigorous trailing types, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the unique thing about the flower on these is that they have a stamen that's in the shape of a wishbone. So it's often called a wishbone flower. And apparently when pollinators visit the plant, they often break the wishbone. And when the wishbone is broken, it sends a signal to the other pollinators that that flower has already been pollinated. So they tend to go to the ones with the intact wishbone first, and then they'll kind of backtrack after that. So apparently it assures better pollination. Kind of an interesting little side note on that one. We're also working on getting more colors of the Streptocarpus. That's been a really popular, kind of more of a shade plant, can't be in the full sun. And the flowers on it are really long lasting, and it can kind of work indoors or outdoors. So we've got some new colors coming in on that. Next, I want to talk about verbena, and our go-to in verbena for the last couple of years has been lanai. And this year we're adding 2 new colors. The first one is Bright Eye. This one, the flowers have a bit of a two-tone effect. It kind of has a glowing ember look to it. It's really a stunner, looks great from far away as well. And then we're switching over from the hot pink to the strawberry. And the reason why is that the strawberry just seems to have an extra layer of saturation to it. So it's very similar to the hot pink, but the color was a little bit richer, so we switched out. I don't think, on average people won't notice it, but if you saw them side by side, you definitely see why we went with strawberry over the hot pink. And we are getting 3 from the Lascar series because that one gives us some unusual colors that are real stunners. So the first one is Mango Orange. That one's kind of another two-tone one, really looks fantastic. Love the kind of eye on that one. The other one was the Lascar Blue and White. The colors on that are just so beautiful. Couldn't resist it. Liked it better than a lot of the purple and blue bicolors out there. And then the last one is the Orange Lava. Now, I will warn you, when it says Orange Lava, it's more of a coral color. Same thing with the Mango Orange. It's a little bit more coral than orange, but in verbena, you don't get those orange colors. So this is as close as it gets, but it is a very beautiful color. But if you're looking for true orange, neither one of these are gonna kind of tick that box for you. And we're diving into the Superbena series. At all the trial gardens, I have to say the Superbenas were more vigorous, bigger flowers, bigger umbels of flowers, just really incredible plants. They definitely are a step above. Now that said, the Lascar and the lanai are both right behind them, but these really give us great flowers. We had them in several of our combos last year and we were so pleased with them. The one that was new last year was the Imperial Blue, and that was a beautiful color. All the colors in this series are fantastic. So those are the changes to verbenas. Next, I want to talk about some of the special combos that we're adding. And we use these combos as a way for us to test out plants that we've never tried before. And they're mixed in a combo so we get to kind of see how they grow with other plants. So the first one is the Fire and Spice. And this is the Flamethrower series of Coleus in there. So there's 3 different colors in there. And this Coleus is really beautiful when I've seen it. And this entire kind of combo looked great in all the trial gardens, and we just wanted to give it a try to see how it grows for us when we start it early and go through the season. So we're trying that one. The other one is called Break the Ice, and that's going to let us try some new colors of the Mini Famous Neo variety. We have grown Mini Famous Neos before, but a lot of these colors are new, and so we want to try those out to see if they're ones that we want to carry next year. Same thing holds true for Written in the Stars. Beautiful bicolor in there, and then that beautiful deep yellow. Cherry Kiss was my favorite at the trial gardens. The colors on it were just beautiful. That headliner lipstick petunia, absolute stunner. And then we're trying some of the Daisy Falls osteospermums. Now these are more of a trailing type of osteospermum, really unusual. They look great when I saw them in the trial gardens, but we want to give them a try ourselves. So there's 2 different baskets. One is just the Daisy Falls colors, and then the other one is mixed with other ones. We want to see how that does, and we thought the colors on these are really beautiful, so couldn't resist that. That is a lot of new varieties to get excited about. You can learn about each of these plants over at the upnorthgarden.com website. Also, that's where you can create kind of a wish list that'll keep track of all the plants that you may be interested in that you can go back to. So do check those out and learn more. all of the varieties of plants that we'll be carrying in the 2023 season are on that website. If you're interested in some of these and you're not near Netta's Nursery in Posen, Michigan, do check with one of your independent garden centers nearby. Most of these varieties aren't going to be available at the big box stores, but your independent garden center may have some of these. So I do recommend checking those out. And thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you're excited about spring. We have plants coming, well, just over a month away, and we're really looking forward to getting our hands in the dirt. So we'll keep you posted. You can always follow us on Facebook and Instagram for more information too.